Hey, it's Metal Matthew coming at you with another video. Today I'm going to be putting in a power supply into my computer. This is just going to be putting in this power supply into this computer. So if you already know how to do this video is not really going to be for you. So this is more for the person who wants to put in the power supplies for the first time. What do we need to do? Alright, so once you've decided, hey, I need a power supply. What are the steps? How can you just say what power supply is for me, right? Or my system. So one of the first things you want to do is find out how much power you actually need. Now, I'll put a link down in the description. An easy site to use is PC Part Picker. You put in all your parts, it tells you a wattage on it, and then from there you can pick your power supply. There's other sites, but that's, I think, the easiest one to use. Having too much power, for the most part, the only thing that's going to have a problem with is your wallet. You're going to spend 2, 3, 4, 5 times as much on a power supply that you need compared to what you get. As opposed to not having enough power, which your system could turn off randomly or not turn on at all, right? And that's one of the big issues. The next issue is having the right amount and enough of the connections you need. I'll go over that briefly as I'm putting this in, but it's relatively a standard thing. Next option you're going to look at is there's 3 types of power supply no matter what brand you go with. There's a non-modular, so from your power supply, here's your power supply itself, right? It has this whole bundle of cables coming off of it with all your connections, your ATX, your EPS, your PCI Express, your SATA cables, all that's coming off of here. This is permanently attached to the back of this. The plus side to non-modular ones like this, they're usually cheaper than their other counterparts. You're not going to lose your cables. The opposite end of that spectrum is a fully modular power supply, which, unlike this, on the back, there are ports that you can plug the cables that you need and then plug them into the components on your computer that you need. That way, you're not wasting cabling that you don't need, but they're usually more expensive. One good thing about that is if you want to completely customize your system, there's places to get fully color schemed cabling, which makes it simpler. The other option is a semi, which is somewhere in the middle. Your main connections, your 24 and where is it? Your EPS, like I said, I'll go over this in a second, is permanently attached. Everything else plugs in. So they're somewhere in the middle in price. It makes it easier for cable management. The other issue you're looking for is the physical size of your power supply. And the only really time that this is going to make a difference is if you have a smaller case. Other than that, most ATX power supplies should fit into it. But there again, you want to check your space and make sure it actually will fit in there. The only other thing is to find a reputable manufacturer. This is an EVGA, Corsair, NZXT, Be Quiet, Cooler Master, Thermaltake. They all make power supplies. Be more than fine. Should have no problem with it. I just wouldn't buy like a TEDS power supply that says peak wattage of 400. Well, how much is peak? Does it last for a second, a minute, a year, whatever? You're looking for a continuous power supply. If you look on box somewhere, there should be a continuous power supply. This is a 500 watt continuous power supply. What do we need for this? Obviously, you need what you're going to be putting it in. You need the power supply itself, and you need a Phillips head screwdriver. That's the only things you're going to need for this. The optional things are I have some zip ties for maybe some cable management and some wire cutters to trim off the access and what's already in here. Is you're going to open up your case. Now this particular case, there's nothing on this side, the back, well, this would be the right side. There's nothing on there. There's no point in opening it. The left side is where everything's at. And so this is what we're going to be working on today. It's a ASUS pre-built, and I'm putting in this power supply because I want a better graphics card, and the power supply that comes with doesn't have what I need. So here's what my system looks like. I'm sorry about if it's a terrible angle. Once you determine what you need, you got all your parts, your computer, your power supply, all that stuff. what you first want to do is you're going to first take out, that's what she said, power supply and everything that's connected to. So in this case, it's another, as you might be able to see, it's non-modular. Obviously, it's a pre-built, nothing fancy. There's a CD drive here, there's a hard drive here, those are two SATA connections. I'll get to that. You got your EPX, this is brown coming off of here, ATX cable here. That's pretty much all there is to it. What I'm going to do, unscrew the back of the power supply. Your case may be different, your case might be at the bottom. If your bottom of your case had holes in it, you might want to put it at the bottom. If you put it in the bottom, just make sure there's enough clearance. You're either going to put it on a table or it's raised enough off your carpet, or like this one, I have to mount to the top. I don't have an option. So what I'm going to do, there's actually on the new one, there's a fan that's going to be put here, and hopefully it'll pull in some of the air in the case, cool down the case, because I only have one exhaust fan plus my CPU cooler. So I don't have a lot of case fans. Hopefully it'll be enough. I'll find out. So it should be relatively the same regardless of what case you have. There's probably like 4 screws that hold it into place. You might have an extra bracket. And make sure you save your screws for when you put the new one in. Now I'm done with the screwdriver right now. This should move out of place. So what am I stuck on first, right? Before you touch anything, it's good to ground yourself, so touch your case. All right, so I'm gonna pull out my EP, and this has a pin on it, or a tab on it. Okay, that came out easy. Now, keep in mind, anytime you're putting anything in or taking anything out, be careful. I mean, you don't want to ruin your stuff trying to take it out. All right, so the next one is my ATX, the 24 pin. I'm gonna disconnect that. There's a tab that holds it into place, and once you get that free, you're kind of working it back and forth. So that's free. I have a SATA cable here for my hard drive, and another SATA cable for my auxiliary, or my CD drive. So that should be everything that needs to come out. So old power supply is out. Nice rainbow cables. So I know I want the fan down for a couple reasons. Number one, there's no hole at the top. And like I said, hopefully this will pull air from the case into outside to help keep it cool. Like I said, this case does not have fans for, doesn't have a whole bunch of case fans. Start feeding these through. Come on, there we go. Success. This is actually where your fully modular cable supply or power supply would actually probably be very beneficial in here, especially in this case, just because of how it's set up. But there again, do you want to spend all that extra money just for a little bit of extra convenience? It might be worth it. All right, these are actually keyed, so they only go in one way, right? You pretty much line it up and put it into place. First cable is in. Put it in until it fully goes in. All right, so the next cable I'm going to be putting in is the CPU, or the ESD one, right? So same thing. I'm going to carefully fish this through and try to route this as best as you can. And like I said, my motherboard only has a 4-pin. You take this, and once again, it has a latch on it. So you go until it latches, and try to get out of the way as much as possible. So the only thing really left to plug in, the SATA. Now in my case, my graphics card right there is powered completely by the motherboard. So I'm going to route my PCI Express cable, and I'm not going to use it today because I don't have my card to plug in, which I have no Molex connections on here. And get a splitter and then go to a PCI Express. In my case, I have a hard drive, optical drive. Now, in some cases, you might actually want to secure the power supply first. I knew it would run into problems if I did it that way. Say the power only goes in one way. I'm going to disconnect my SATA data just to make it easier. All right, and now I just have this last SATA power to plug in. Finally, that's it. I mean, the only thing left to do, attach power supply to the case. Just start all of them, and then once you get all of the screws in place, then you can go ahead and tighten them up. All right, so with that, it's nice and secure. All I got to do is plug it in and enjoy a job well done. And that's it. That's what it is. Like I said, for me personally, I'm not going to do a lot of cable management because it's a closed case, you know. But that's pretty much how to do it. Thank you for watching. Like I said, if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them as best I can. And I hope whenever you have to change yours, your system doesn't fight you as much. All right, so thanks for watching. Like I said, any questions, feel free to ask me. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks.